Hey there, Creepy Diaries folks. Today, I'm back at it again with 3 spine-tingling stories about alien encounters. First up, a disturbing event in a quiet small town where a young guy spots a mysterious object in the sky. Follow his shocking journey as he and his dad, the town's former sheriff, face a reality beyond anything they've ever known. In our second tale, on a camping trip meant to test their mettle, 4 buddies stumble upon a mysterious silver disc in the woods. This object, defying all logical explanations, invites them on an otherworldly adventure, sharing visions of cosmic harmony. And to wrap it up, a trucker comes across a mysterious young woman. His pursuit leads him into a dense forest and an encounter with an enigmatic light. This transformative experience challenges the laws of nature and opens the door to an unknown world. Ready to dive into the incredible mysteries that await just beyond what we can see? Let's go. I always thought I knew my dad inside and out. Believed we had our little town peg, a place where folks nodded greetings and front doors stayed unlocked. But that night, with a yellowish blur tearing across the sky, I began to grasp that the world was vast and frightening beyond my wildest imaginations. I dashed to the dining room window, my heart hammering so hard I swore it was trying to bust free from my chest. "What's that, Dad?" I hollered, excitement and terror strangling my voice. My dad, a man who'd only ever lost his cool when the Mets got creamed by the Yankees, dropped his fork with a clatter loud enough to echo in the ensuing silence. Red wine spread across the tablecloth like blood, a grim omen for what was coming. His face went ashen, color draining as quickly as wine from its bottle. "Jesus Christ," he murmured, eyes glued to the night sky. "I don't know." Now he was by my side, his shoulder against mine as we tracked the unidentified flying object. It seemed sentient, zigzagging with agility that defied our understanding of physics. "Where'd it go?" he whispered, his voice barely audible over our heavy breathing. "There," I pointed eastward, where our tranquil lake mirrored the starlight, disturbed only by the erratic path of that object. This was no ordinary drone, even a kid could tell. My dad, former sheriff and a man who faced the unknown with a grin, picked up his phone with slightly trembling hands. He dialed the current sheriff, and I could hear the strain in his voice as he tried to sound calm. "Sheriff, this is Doug Turner." He paused, listening, then hung up. He looked at me, and for a second, I saw something I'd never seen before in his eyes. Pure fear. "He's gonna make some calls. Says it's probably just someone testing a new drone." But we both knew it was a lie. No drone moved like that, and certainly none could vanish into the night as the object did, descending toward the Williams Ranch, a place where I used to play as a kid. He sent me to bed, trying to offer comfort with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Don't worry, it's nothing. The sheriff's bringing in reinforcements." He winked, the most pathetic attempt at reassurance. Now alone, I listened to the night sounds, wondering if each noise was my dad coming back, or something more sinister. Eventually, exhaustion overcame terror, and I fell into a restless sleep. When I woke up, morning light filtered through the curtains, and my dad was in the kitchen, acting as if last night had never happened. "Morning, son," he said, his voice unnaturally flat. "What's up, Dad?" I asked, the memory of last night still fresh and terrifying. He gave me that empty look and replied in a voice that didn't seem to be his own. "You must have had a nightmare." He suggested I skip school, that we take a field trip, but the way he said it, like he was reading a script he didn't quite understand, chilled me to the bone. I agreed to skip school, but with a growing sense of dread. My dad's smile was uncomfortably wide, his eyes no longer conveying the safety they once did. He had changed, an unspoken secret hanging in the air between us. "Where are we going, Dad?" I asked as he led me out of the house. He just pointed toward the Williams Ranch, now seeming to hold a darker significance than just a childhood play area. In the car, silence was deafening, only the engine's hum and tires crunching on the gravel road. When we arrived, there was no sign of last night's light, just the vast, quiet expanse of the ranch, silent and deserted. "Dad, what happened last night?" I couldn't hold the question in any longer. He stopped the car and turned to me, and for the first time, I clearly saw his eyes. Once warm brown, now they had a metallic glint. "Son, there are things in this world we don't understand. And last night, we stumbled onto one of them." His voice was calm, but there was a firmness in it that sent shivers down my spine. He led me to where the light had descended, and there, scorched into the grass, was a perfectly circular pattern. "They chose me, son, and now they've chosen you too." He crouched, touching the scorched earth, and when he lifted his hand, the grass was rejuvenated, green and vibrant. "Chosen for what?" My voice was barely a whisper, a mix of fear and fascination. "To see the world as it truly is, to be part of something greater." He stood and embraced me, and I felt energy transfer from his body to mine, a sensation of warmth and understanding. "What do we do now?" I asked, my mind spinning with possibilities. "We help others see, too," he said with a smile that was now gentle and genuine, the dad I knew shining through the transformation. Suddenly, the sky around us lit up, not with yellow light, but with a spectacle of vibrant colors, an aurora of possibilities. And in the midst of the light, a shape began to materialize, a craft like the one we'd seen the previous night, but this time it was clear and welcoming. And then I knew we were not alone, that this was the beginning of a new understanding, a new role for us in this vast and incredible universe. My fear had dissipated, replaced by a sense of purpose and wonder. Our world had changed, and together, father and son, we were ready to embrace whatever came next. I've always prided myself on being a rationalist, a skeptic. The mysteries of the night were just science I hadn't figured out yet. That was until the weekend we went camping in the forest on the outskirts of town, a place where trees whispered ancient secrets and the wind seemed to call your name. It was supposed to be an adventure among friends, almost a rite of passage, to prove our mettle against the shadows of the woods. The four of us, me, Jake, Tyler, and Sean, found a spot near a babbling brook where the night sky was a black canvas sprinkled with stars. Night fell like a veil, soft and deceptively peaceful, when Tyler, the most adventurous among us, pointed upward. "What's that?" he asked, his voice a mix of curiosity and a quiver we didn't expect from him. We followed his extended finger to the sky, where a pulsing light seemed to dance among the stars. It wasn't a shooting star, it was too big, too close, and it moved with purpose. "No way," Sean, the skeptic of our group, said, though his voice betrayed his confidence. "It's got to be some kind of satellite or something." But satellites don't change directions. Satellites don't descend towards a group of boys camped out, their hearts pounding with the promise of the unexplainable. The light pulsed, shimmering in a silver hue that seemed almost liquid, as if it were alive. All four of us were standing now, our bodies tense and our eyes wide. The silence of the forest was deafening, only the sound of our breathing and the brook to remind us that the world was still turning. "It must be someone with a drone," Jake tried to rationalize, his voice artificially logical. "You know, one of those fancy drones." But none of us bought it, not even him. The light approached, now so bright it cast shadows around us. It descended behind a nearby hill, and for a moment, all we could do was stare at where it had vanished. "Let's check it out," Tyler said, the word adventure gleaming in his eyes. And so, without thinking of the consequences, without thinking about how this night might change everything, we followed. The grass under our feet seemed to hum with each step we took towards the unknown. When we reached the top of the hill, what we saw in the valley below took our breath away. A silver disc, smooth and flawless, sat there, quiet and seemingly harmless. The light it emitted was no longer an aggressive pulse, but a soft, welcoming glow. Then, without any warning, a door opened, a ramp extending down to the forest floor like an invitation. We looked at each other, adrenaline transforming our fear into something akin to determination. Before we could decide what to do, figures appeared in the doorway of the ship, not human, but not entirely alien. They had human form, but their skin shimmered with the same silver hue as the ship. They invited us in, their voices a melody that seemed to speak directly to our souls. "Come," they said. "Show us your world, and we will show you ours." What happened next is a blur of memories, of stars seen from impossible angles, of galaxies spinning like cosmic carousels. We talked about our lives, our dreams, and they shared visions of harmony that transcended words. When they returned us to our now extinguished campfire, the sky was beginning to lighten with the promise of dawn. We sat in silence, none of us wanting to break the spell of that night, none of us sure if what we had experienced was real or just the product of a collective imagination. But as the sun rose and daylight began to chase away the shadows, we knew something had changed within us, that we had seen something most only dream of. And as we packed up our gear, every movement seemed imbued with a newfound purpose. Our adventure in the forest had been more than a test of courage. It had been an encounter, a revelation. And though we never spoke of it openly again, the light we saw that night never left us. It glowed within us, a silent secret we would carry forever. On a crisp autumn evening, with the last whispers of summer fading into the chill of approaching winter, I found myself barreling down Interstate 40, hauling a load of cargo from Memphis to Little Rock. I'm a long-haul trucker, a profession that has gifted me countless hours of solitude and reflection under the endless expanse of the American sky. My truck, an aging Peterbilt 379, was both my chariot and my sanctuary, a place where I was king of my little domain, insulated from the complexities and chaos of the outside world. That night was different, though. The air had a bite to it, a foreboding chill that seemed to seep into the bones, hinting at the approaching winter. The moon had decided to hide away, leaving only the starry blanket above and the narrow beam of my headlights to pierce the darkness ahead. It was on this lonely stretch of road, far from the comforting glow of city lights, that my world was turned upside down. As I rounded a bend, the headlights caught a figure in a white dress, a stark contrast against the darkened backdrop of the forest. She stood there, on the side of the road, as out of place as a lighthouse in a desert. My first thought was for her safety. A young woman, alone in such a remote area, was an anomaly that screamed trouble. Pulling over, I rolled down my window, the cold air rushing in like an uninvited guest, and called out to her, offering a ride to wherever she needed to go. She didn't respond, not with words. Instead, she turned, her movement graceful yet somber, and began walking towards the dense thicket that lined the highway. There was something mesmerizing about her, a magnetic pull that tugged at the very core of me. Before I knew it, I found myself following her into the forest, driven by a mix of concern and an inexplicable compulsion to see this through. The forest was alive with the sounds of nocturnal creatures, a symphony of rustles, chirps, and the soft murmur of the wind through the trees. Yet, as I followed the mysterious woman deeper into the woods, those sounds seemed to fade into the background, replaced by a heavy silence that weighed on my ears. That's when I saw it. A light, unlike any I had encountered before. It was a globe of radiant energy, pulsating softly, suspended in the air. Its luminescence cast an ethereal glow on the surroundings, turning the night into twilight. The woman approached the light, her body language shifting from one of purpose to reverence, as if she were approaching a sacred altar. I stood frozen, caught in the thrall of the spectacle before me. The light enveloped the woman, and then, with a brilliance that forced me to avert my eyes, it vanished, taking her with it. The forest returned to its natural state, as if the light and the woman were nothing but figments of my imagination. I made my way back to the truck, the engine still humming patiently, a steadfast companion waiting for my return. The rest of my journey was shrouded in contemplation. Had I witnessed a supernatural event, a crack in the veil that separates our world from another? Or was it merely a trick of the light, a hallucination brought on by the monotony of the road and the late hour? Since that night, my perspective has shifted. The road no longer feels like just a path from point A to point B, but a journey through the unknown, where anything is possible. I've kept the story to myself, a private marvel too surreal to share. Yet, each time I pass that stretch of highway, I can't help but glance towards the woods, half expecting, half hoping, to catch a glimpse of the mysterious light or the woman in white, a silent testament to the night that changed everything.